Hello again. This is the scenario number 2 demonstration. For this one, we've got salvaging dilithium, and I will start you off with Jeff again.
Okay, so just like scenario one, this one has very different victory conditions and the way you build up points. In this one, you do not gain any special points for destroying an enemy ship. The whole point is there is a wrecked freighter, dilithium freighter, that's in the very middle of the board, represented by the derelict ship there. And each side has what's called a dilithium depot in its bottom left corner. So we can just put those down since there's no choice to it. It exactly goes in your bottom left corner from each person's perspective, just touching the edges. And that you can see there's a little stack of 9 mission tokens on the derelict ship there, the wrecked freighter. That's because there's a whole bunch of dilithium there, and it's our job to ferry individual tokens back to our dilithium depot. So it's not so much about combat as it is about moving, maneuverability, maybe having more ships. Just like in the last one, there's benefits to having a lot of ships rather than just a couple monsters. So there's a couple special actions granted by the um, yeah, okay, let's place those. So the one thing that is voluntary in the setup is deciding where to put your debris token. So Nick has initiative, so he will put a debris token somewhere on the board, and he's going to maliciously put it on that nice route that I have in between the derelict ship and my planet. And so I will return the favor and at least block this side of it here. Let's go with that. So
Yeah. No, I that's definitely. I think people will be putting debris in those two corners. I think for most of it.
yeah, I
Um,
said voluntary, but it's not really that voluntary. It's pretty clear what you have to do. I should also mention this scenario grants 2 special actions. Each ship now has an action that it can spend an action to basically obtain a dilithium token if you're within range 1 of that central ship, and another action to drop it off at your depot if you're within range 1 of your depot. So
yeah.
uh, that's the basics, and the scoring is just how many tokens you get back onto your depot by the end of the game, which is either 75 minutes or when one fleet has been completely destroyed.
Okay, so cloaked mines, the exact same rule as the last scenario applies. So for anyone who hasn't watched that first video, we'll just quickly run through that again.
Yeah, so normally I have cloaked mines here in my fleet, and normally when I place it, I just have to stay um, range 2 away from every enemy ship. So that one's perfect. I use my thing, and it's oops, sorry, 8.2 away, and I'm outside of the range 2 bubble. So this would normally be a legal place where I could put cloaked mines relative to the enemy ship. But I also have to consider the derelict ship as an enemy ship, and I'm not 8.0 away from it. If I were to grab a range ruler here or the measurement, it's inside of range 2. So need to I would basically need to have it back here. So that's another thing that keeps you from mining this super central thing in the middle of the board, namely the derelict ship. So I think this one might be my favorite of the 6. I'm not sure. I just really like the fact that it's so unclear what you should be using your ships for. You need to be making progress on going and picking up tokens. So right there, let's say Nick moved within range 1 of the freighter with his maneuver for his saber class there. He can spend his action on taking a token and putting it by his ship, whichever ship that is, USS Saber.
Yep.
So if
Um,
you want to do he, go ahead.
so in this particular case, so you've got both Valdor classes that aren't in range 1, which obviously, so the Saber by doing his by basically sacrificing his action he's leaving himself vulnerable to both of those. They will still be shooting
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
So
right.
you've got to kind of
So
plan around that as well.
right, right. Passive combat abilities might be nicer for this one than things that require an action, or if you have someone to get free actions or something, because you're going to need to be spending these actions on things. And so you're going to have to get near the wrecked freighter. You're going to have to pick up a token. You're going to have to get turned around some, and you're going to have to get back with that token to within range 1 of your dilithium depot. And that's just to get 1 point. And there's 9 points at stake here are available.
So
Uh,
I'll just
yeah.
demonstrate the range for the planet in the bottom as well. So it's going to be tricky for you to measure that. Well, for you to accurately determine your ship's maneuver for that, because you could end up in a situation where you've planned your maneuver, you've executed your maneuver, and then you are painfully just outside of range 1. Let's say there, for example. And unfortunately, this means that you need to spend yet another turn getting yourself
Mhm.
maybe another one forward or something like that, just so you can drop the token off. So we're going to need some experienced flyers for this one, I think, because it's definitely going to be tricky getting into those range 1s of both the planet and
Right.
the derelict ship.
And in order to be efficient, you might well have been trying to do a couple things and maybe trying to get turned around or something as part of what you did. And if it turns out that um, you were too ambitious and didn't quite, sorry,
Yeah, exactly. And at
just
that
out of
point,
range there. Oops, now I'm faced the wrong way. And when am I ever going to get in range 1 without a whole lot of work? So it's a nice balance between aggressive maneuvering and accurate maneuvering.
so it's important to note as well that by the end of the game, only tokens that are on your planet, on your what's it called
Mm-hmm.
again? The
Depot,
depot,
your
yeah.
dilithium depot, yeah.
Only the tokens on them will count. So even if you've got all your ships with tokens on by the end of the game, if only one token is on the other person's depot, they will win. So and again, for each token that you get, that's another faction point for your faction towards the war effort. I
Yeah,
think we should also make note of what happens if you die whilst you've got a mission token on your ship.
right, right.
So my
Yeah,
Prometheus has just killed your Denatra that was trying to escape.
right. So if she had a mission token, it says on the ship card, but you can just as well put it by your ship base if you want it to be clearer. So she's carrying this token, and so what happens to it? Is it destroyed? Does it go back to the middle? Well, what actually happens is you leave your ship on the board. You flip it over, you put the mission token on it, and now what we have is a second wrecked ship on the board. It's a wrecked ship that only has one token, but anybody can go pick it up using that action and head towards their depot. And so if your Prometheus can stop me getting all the way back to my planet, um, there's hope for you to claim that token instead. So lots and lots of tactical possibilities here. I really have no idea what the best use for ships is. You want to be making progress on transporting tokens, but you also want to be blocking the other person from doing that. Cloaked mines can be an issue. Those obstacles that we drop down can be really annoying because it takes away your action. Uh, Lots of tactical possibilities here. Figuring out where to set up, what your ships are going to do, what the other person's going to do,
Yep.
and we're all going to be novices at this particular scenario because I certainly have never done anything like it. There may be other OPs that are kind of similar, but I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, because of the versatility of all 6 scenarios, you could build a list that would be very, very good.
Right,
If you could build
right,
lots of fast ships, they would probably be very good for this one. But that's not going to serve you good if you get one of the other scenarios and you don't even end up getting this. So no one, I don't think, is going to build a list specifically for this particular scenario, and so everyone's
right.
lists are going to be, a bit more average, which I think, yeah, it will suit. And so yeah, you're reliant upon your tactics rather than your opponent having a distinct advantage in maybe numbers or speed.
Yeah, yeah. And the choice of whether to focus on combat or not, I mean, obviously it's great to destroy the other side's ships so they can't be doing stuff, but you're not building up any points towards actually winning if you're doing that. So at best, it has to be sort of a secondary goal.
Yeah.
I don't know if we said there's still the penalty in this one if you fly a ship off the board, uh, which is a real possibility if you're hurtling towards your depot and unable to turn around and just your only goal is to get close enough to do that action. You can definitely leave yourself in a really bad place.
So yeah, we don't really want to see, for example, I know my Airy classes wouldn't hang for very long, so I've offloaded, let's say both my Prometheus and my Saber have been destroyed. I've offloaded at this point, I don't know, most of the mission tokens onto my planet. More so that I'm going to now win this. What we don't want to see is me flying my remainder of my ships off the board, because that, yeah, it's not
To
good.
lock in the score. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you do that, it's 2 points off for each ship that has fled the battlefield, has left the playing area. So it's going to be hard to have that be a good move to do ever.
Yeah. Right. So that's the scenario number 2, and
Yeah.
we will proceed on to scenario number 3.